No problem. And I am John. We're talking about the six elements, which is what I have here. Um, and I got into um, a lot of complexity in my thinking, and that's not always bad. I try to be pretty simple. But as I was reading more and learning more, and I'm going to avoid all Pali and Sanskrit words today just for my sanity, but I think it'll might help with everyone else's sanity and just stick to English. But the elements as we have them is earth, water, fire, air, and then some use space and some use consciousness. Um, earth represents solidity and attractive forces, brings things together. And water represents liquidity and relative motion. I think we all know what liquidity is. We've all knocked our water over on the table and observed it in full force. Um, Fire is heat and energy, and air is expansion and repulsive forces, things that push away. And both are really important. And then space is space. The reason I can move my hand in a circle, right? And consciousness is consciousness. And it's cool to think of consciousness as a dimension. I think how consciousness gets involved is so many of the Buddhists early on, all the way up till now, um, see that there's there is a reality that they recognize as what's really there, but consciousness really changes everything for each of us because we view it through our own senses, which may vary from each other, and our own ideas and our own experiences. So it creates almost a whole other universe for each individual person that they're in. So when I think of this, I think of Indra's net, and I realize that Indra's net is something I do need to understand to grow in my practice of Buddhism. Um, I can't directly say how it affects my recovery, but in my understanding of the universe around me, I do need to understand the concept of Indra's net. Indra's net may be called, excuse me, interdependent origination. Um, Thich Nhat Hanh may call it interdependent co arising, but it's the idea that all of reality is arising and everything is impacting everything else. We're all impacting it and we're all impacted by everything else, and it's happening continuously. And by the time we realize it, of course, it's already the past. It's a really interesting thing. I'm going to quote a guy named Alan Watts, who I like to read. Imagine a multiple dimensional spider's web in the early morning covered with dewdrops. We see this web and it's covered with dewdrops. And every dewdrop contains the reflection of all the other dewdrops. And in each reflected dewdrop, the reflections of all the other dewdrops in that reflection. And so on ad infinitum. That is the Buddhist concept of the universe in an image. I love that. And I think that's beautiful because it says that, if I see myself as a dewdrop on this multidimensional web, this Indra's net, and I'm reflecting everything, but everything is reflecting me. and it's vast and incomprehensible and almost beyond infinity in its complexity. And that brings me to having a humble view that I cannot understand everything because it is beyond my scope in this present body, in this present state of consciousness to comprehend everything on an intellectual level, although I do believe it can be experienced. That's why so much meditation is not so focused on words. um, and that experience can set me free. And that experience protects me and saves me and brings me closer to the truth. Interdependent co-arising. I like how Thich Nhat Hanh says it. So if we take hydrogen and we take oxygen, and they're both a gas. This is the complexity of it when I think about it, when I really look at it. Oxygen is a gas. I breathe it, I need it to live. Hydrogen is a gas. But if they encounter each other, they become H2O, water, which is a liquid. So the components of the liquid are two gases of that liquid. Of the thing we would, if I said liquid, most people would think of water first. Our default liquid is made from two gases. Atoms themselves rely on, if you look at solidity and attractive forces, they rely on attraction in order to function. A proton is positive and an electron is negative. And because of that, there's an attraction that keeps them functioning. But they also rely on repulsion to stay separate entities and to form the elements and all the aggregate things we see around us. We need, for this universe to work, both the repulsion, which is found in the air element, and the attraction, which is found in the solid element. And without that balance, without that physics yin and yang, everything goes asunder. Everything does not work. And I think of just the sheer vastness of the universe. People who theorize on physics theorize, and I think most physicists think these may exist, but they're hard to prove right now. And if you realize how small they are, you'll find out why. That at the Planck length, I'll get that into that in a second, the Planck length, everything is at the Planck length, everything is composed of strings, which are vibrating strings of energy, which make, I don't know if you want to call it noise or vibration or waves or whatever, but they make those and make everything around it. And below the Planck length, everything is just kind of, the laws of physics break down and everything's kind of foamy. It's called quantum foam. Okay. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then you go from that string level to the atom level, and then up to me, my level, and then to the level of the whole entire universe, right? And I ask myself, how small can this string, this vibrating string, actually be? So if I'm 10 to the 0, if John sitting in this room is 10 to the 0 on a scientific notation, those of you who don't know, just bear with me. And those of you who do, it's hard to comprehend anyway because they're just vast numbers. I'm 10 to the 0. 10 to the 0 would be 1 meter if we were doing a meter, right? The Planck length, the length of a string, would be 10 to the negative 35 power. That's a point one with 35 zeros. An atom itself is 10 to the negative 15. An atom is closer in size to me than it is to a string. A string is smaller to an atom than an atom is to me. And then you come back to me at 10 to the 0. If you go to the size of the observable universe, it's 8.3 times 10 to the 26th power, which means I am larger to a single string than the whole entire universe is to me. So I can forgive scientists for having trouble detecting strings. It may always be a philosophy we can never prove. That's where philosophy and science kind of cross, is those theoretical spaces where things maybe can't be tested. But the reason I said this, it just gives us an idea of the vastness and the complexity of this. I don't want to call it the world, but of this, of what we are all experiencing right now, and how all those things impact me and how I impact all those things. Reflections inside of reflections inside of reflections. Or as maybe they said, what was that book called? Wheels inside of wheels. Is that the book of Isaiah in the Old Testament? I can't remember. But I think someone had a vision of how things are running and saw the complexity and said wheels inside of wheels. That's kind of a neat idea. So knowing I, on top of this, we are all experiencing this differently because of our consciousness and our senses. It's not precisely the same. It makes just about an infinite number of universes. I mean, right now, there are 8 billion people on the planet, so there's 8 billion ways to practice. No two are the same. They're like a fingerprint. There might be some with huge similarities, but no two are the same. 8 billion different ways of seeing things, all impacting each other. So I was trying to think of a great chant to do with this, and I'm not going to do Om Mani Padme Hum. I'm not going to do just Om. It does put me in a sense of awe, but with that sense of awe, I think what's important, the same way that we need repulsive forces and we need attractive forces to keep the universe running, the same way that we need the things of water, the things of liquid, the things of solid, the things of gas or air, and the things of fire, to have everything in consciousness and space, to have all those things for all things to exist. I think I need simplicity to balance this out. So I'm going to use one of my favorite chants I love, and based on a title of a book, and a chant made by Anne with an E. So I just wanted to do that. So we'll do that for a few minutes, and then we'll be quiet for a few minutes. I went a little long. I hope everyone got that. I hope that can be applicable to your life in some way. I think it's just good to realize that that's the universe we live in. That's what's going on. That's what's happening. So let's start the chant. One day at a time, go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time, go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time, Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. One day at a time. Go slowly, breathe and smile. Let's take a minute or 2 minutes to just breathe and enjoy this moment. Namaste. Dedication of merit. May we be happy and peaceful. May we be happy and peaceful. May we be healthy and strong. May we be safe and protected. May we live with ease. Namaste.